I'm Ann Dart.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome.
If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to episode 112 of Dark and Stormy Book Club. We are kind of excited today. We haven't had an In Agatha's Footsteps episode in quite a few months, but we are thrilled today to have Ann Cleeves, the author of the Vera and Shetland series, and she's going to tell us about a new series she's written.
Well, first I'll tell you about Ann Cleeves. She has written over 30 novels and is the creator of detectives Vera Stanhope and Jimmy Perez, characters loved both on screen and in print. Her books have now sold millions of copies worldwide. In 2012, she was inducted into the CWA Crime Thriller Awards Hall of Fame and is the 2017 recipient of the CWA Diamond Dagger, the highest honor in British crime writing. Ann lives in North Tyneside. The new book she's written is called The Long Call. It is the first in the Two Rivers series. In North Devon, where two rivers converge and run into the sea, Detective Matthew Venn stands outside the church as his estranged father's funeral takes place. On the day Matthew left the strict evangelical community he grew up in, he lost his family too. Now, as he turns and walks away again, he receives a call from one of his team. A body has been found on the beach nearby, a man with a tattoo of an albatross on his neck, stabbed to death. The case calls Matthew back to the people and places of his past as deadly secrets hidden at their hearts are revealed, and his new life is forced into a collision course with the world he thought he left behind.
We would like to welcome the prolific author Ann Cleeves to our program. She has a wonderful new book called The Long Call. It is a new series. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you. It's lovely to speak to you.
I enjoyed this book very much, but I understand
I'm so pleased.
I'm a big fan of Vera. I just adore her books. But I'm sorry to see that the Shetland series has ended. Will this be a book that we can enjoy on television eventually?
Well, it's been optioned for television by the same production team that makes Vera and Shetland.
Oh,
and
good.
There will be more Shetland on the television and more Vera on the television. Just no more Shetland books. There'll be more Vera books. There's one coming out in September.
Oh,
but
good.
Because of the coronavirus, filming on Shetland and Vera was just about to start, but obviously that had to be cancelled. The filming has been postponed, so I'm not quite sure when that'll come onto our screens, but there will be a new series. And as I say, The Long Call, the series with Matthew Venn, which we call the Two Rivers series, that has been optioned and a script is being written, but there's no guarantee that filming will actually happen.
Do we have an actor who's going to play Matthew?
Not yet, no. We're not reached the casting stage yet. Have a commission first.
Well, it'll be exciting to look forward to that one because I really like this book. You are one of the masters at depicting your location and making it almost a character by itself. What's your secret to creating such lifelike scenarios?
Well, I write about places that I know very well. So I did live in Shetland and I've been visiting it for more than 40 years, so I know it very well. Vera Land, Northumberland, is where I live now, so that's my home. And I know the coast and the country and the seaside, so that's very easy to write. And then I grew up in North Devon, which is where The Long Call is set. So that's also a place that I know well, although I've not lived there really since I was a young adult. I do still go back and I've got school friends there that I go and stay with. And I think the place is more than a backdrop to the action. I think people grow out of the place where they were raised and where they were born. So I can't imagine Vera coming from anywhere except the Northumberland Hills. And I can't imagine Jimmy having been born anywhere but Bear Isle on Shetland. And the same really for Matthew.
Do you see Matthew building a better relationship with his mother?
Oh, I think so. I think Jonathan, his husband, will help that reconciliation. And I think just at the end of the book, we do get a sense that he's prepared to put himself out of it.
He is too, a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I'm writing the second Matthew book now. I'm in lockdown and I've got plenty of time. So I'm starting to make that relationship for a little. I think it'll be tricky, but I think it'll happen.
Do you think Vera, Jimmy, and Matthew could ever work on a case together?
People ask me that, and I say we maybe have them too in the States. We have something called Comic Relief, which is a charity fundraiser television show once a year where comedians get together and put on sketches and raise lots and lots of money for charity. And I can imagine doing Comic Relief sketch with the three of them in it. Probably not in a book.
We've really enjoyed the character of Jen Rafferty. She was just about the polar opposite of Matthew. How much fun was it to come up with some of her one-liners that she came out with?
Yeah, I love writing Jen for people who've not read the book. She's one of these women who settled down too early, married too young, had children too young, ended up in a very difficult relationship and finally got her freedom and left her husband with her kids. So she's making up for lost time. She never parted when she was young, but she's partying very hard now and is quite predatory when it comes to men. So yeah, I really enjoy writing her. And the new book starts with Jen at a party, having drunk a bit too much and eyeing up the men that are there.
There were a lot of marginalized groups in this book. Matthew is gay and grew up in a very repressive religious community, and there's also several characters with Down syndrome. Do you have a particular message in bringing to light some of these areas?
I don't think it's a particular message. I think it's people that I know and it's the world that I've become involved in. So I did train as a social worker. So my very best friend who still lives in North Devon, who I've known since she was 11, spent all her working career working with adults with a learning disability, and I'd come across the people that she worked with and her work too. So they were very much a part of my life. And then Matthew became gay, not to make any political point really, but because I explained my husband died a couple of years ago, and the people that really took care of me when he died were great friends of ours, a gay couple, and so they were in my head really when I was writing the book. And I think Jonathan and Matthew are a celebration of that friendship in a way and that marriage. Went to their wedding. They got married in Shetland, and I was so thrilled to be asked to be a witness at their wedding. So that was a lovely, cheerful time for us all.
Well, that's wonderful. Matthew's very good at being a detective, but he is very, very insecure himself. Why is there such a disparity in his personality? He's such a unsure in his personal life, but in his job, he's just go get it.
I think it's said because he grew up in that quite strict religious community and lost his faith or questioned his faith certainly when he hit 18 and was cast out by the group. And I think within the police service, he finds that sense of honour and duty and community and family he misses, because there were lots of great things about growing up in that community. I think that's why he's comfortable as a police officer, because he knows what his role is there and he knows where he is and what he's about. He's less comfortable in more social situations. He has that kind of social anxiety. So he struggled. His husband, Jonathan, runs a community arts centre and is quite arty and very laid back and has lots of friends. And Matthew is having to learn to accept that and become a part of it. And again, I'm hoping that will develop throughout the book.
What was your inspiration for the character of Morris Braddock?
I think he's like lots of parents of learning disabled adults because he loves Lucy, his daughter, to pieces, and he's a widower. He would be very, very lonely without her. Deep down, he knows that she needs to be more independent because he's 80 and he's not going to live forever, and she needs to learn for herself that she can look after herself. And I think there's that ambiguity with lots of older people who have spent their life looking after learning disabled children. Social services are trying to encourage people to be more independent now, but there is also that tremendous sense of needing to protect your children that he has.
I love the interaction between the two of them where he would just be waiting and watching for her to come up the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And he didn't want her to go to the center, but she was, I have to go, my job.
That's right. Based on a lovely young woman called Izzy, who lives quite close to me, who has just moved into independent living. She's younger than Lucy Braddock. She's just in her early 20s. But she loves having her own place, and it's part of a sheltered accommodation, so there are carers around, but she has her own flat, does her own shopping, does her own cooking, does her own laundry, and she walks into this flat and she just says, oh, home sweet home.
Oh, that's wonderful when they can get their own lives together and just...
I think so. I think it is, yeah, absolutely. It's a right, I think. And although parents want to protect their children, in a way they're doing them no favours if they don't let them go.
Yeah, but you can see why Morris was that way. He was so protective of her. He was a very touching character.
Thank you.
You say you're working on the next book. Do you have a title?
A working title, which I think is The Glassblower.
Sounds interesting. Do you have a timeline when that might be coming out?
Yes, the next book out is the new Vera, and that's all finished and proofed and ready to go, and that's called The Darkest Evening. That comes out in September. So the new Matthew Venn will be the September, the fall after that.
Oh, okay.
So fall 2021.
Okay, very good. I can't wait for the next Vera.
I'm hoping if things get back to normal, the plan was that I would be in the US for publication. So,
oh, really? Great.
See how it goes.
Do you have a website that people can find you?
It's anncleeves.com, so it's very easy.
Well, I thank you so much for taking time to talk with me.
It's been lovely to chat.
I hope you stay well and safe.
Thank you, and you.
Thank you, and you enjoy visiting with your grandson.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I think he's wanting me to go and play ball with him at the minute. He needs the exercise, and probably so do I. He can't really go out, so we'll have to just go in the garden.
Yeah, you just have to go in the backyard.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, thank you so much, and you take care and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm a big fan of Vera and Shetland. This book is really a great addition to those two series.
We've waited over 20 years for Anne to introduce a new series, and it was well worth the 20 years.
She's winding down the writing of her Shetland series. That one's going to end, but this is a great new series to look forward to.
And it's a whole new avenue for Anne with this series. She is dealing with a character that is so multifaceted, and also she is also dealing with so many social issues in this book. I don't know if that'll be an ongoing theme, but we've got abuse, violence in the home, mental health, religious convictions, sexual choices, alcoholism, suicidal tendencies. And they were all dealt with so tactfully. I really loved how there was so much going on, but some of it was in the background, but some of it was in the forefront. And I just thought it was very well done.
Can't agree more. I truly liked how she wove everything together, and tactfully is the perfect word for how she did it. Especially how she treated the evangelical community that Matthew grew up in. If she had been more specific, she might have drawn fire for that, but how she did it, I thought was very, very well done.
Yes, you can tell she put some thought into how she was going to portray that.
Well, that's one of Anne's biggest talents. She can take a character that you would just walk by on the street and develop that person into a really in-depth characterization of that person's personality. And I love the way she handled the Down syndrome characters. Can tell she knows people, very empathetic to their situation.
I agree. And talking about her characters, my favorite character in the book was Morris Braddock, who was the father of one of the Down syndrome characters. His child